The village in it with a map and a plan. No place too tiny for this determined man. Crossing the counties one by one, you'll see in every English corner a bit of history.
Hello folks, welcome back to Harborough. It's a nice quiet Saturday morning where you find me in this episode. It's so peaceful, in fact. All I can hear at the moment is the bleating of sheep because I'm standing right in front of a sheep field. Here we go. Here is the sheep field and there are the sheep. Now, they have a view of one of the biggest landmarks in this particular area, and you might just be able to see it on the horizon there. That is the Twyford Viaduct, which is not actually in today's parish, it's just to the north of it. But I'm going to include it in this one, seeing as there's a lot of railway history to talk about here. This is Marefield. Marefield, Martin's open land. This week on TVI we return to Harborough to knock out 5 more. By the end of this week we'll have visited 18 of these 91. We're getting close to a quarter distance. First up in this run is the smallest one we've seen in Harborough since I covered Westerel and Starmore. Barely any larger than that one, this is Marefield, a simple farming community that occupies a little lane that you can walk the length of in under 2 minutes. Yes, I am serious. Classified officially as a hamlet, its population was last recorded as a mind-boggling massive 20. For that reason, its stats and admin are usually combined with Oaston and Newbold away to the east. From one end of Marefield, it's possible to see the other, so that should give you some idea of how small a place we're in today. Don't be confused by the name of this one, by the way. Normally, when we see a place with mare in it, we usually end up talking about a pond or a mere. That's not the case here. In this one, the mare refers to a marten, a type of mammal which looks to all intents and purposes exactly like a weasel. Aside from the farms and a small clutch of houses, Marefield has very little else. However, it did give its name to a really important piece of railway infrastructure. Look on overhead maps and to the southwest of the hamlet you'll see a big triangular piece of land. The sides of that triangle were defined by railway lines that formed the huge Marefield Junction. We'll be talking about that here for sure. Music fans might know this one too. We'll also be talking about a semi-famous band because one of their members came from Marefield. Let's find out who it is. We begin this really short episode on Twyford Road, just to the north of Marefield. This is the road that leads to the village of Twyford, Marefield's near neighbour. Now, if you ever drive this road, you cannot fail to miss the biggest piece of railway infrastructure anywhere in the area. Look to the left and you'll spot the immense Twyford Viaduct. Theoretically, Twyford Viaduct is not within Marefield Parish and so doesn't really belong to this video. However, I'll cover it here because it links in nicely with Marefield Junction. Twyford Viaduct sits about a mile to the north of Marefield. It goes by another name too in some railway circles, John o' Gaunt Viaduct. That's because there's a little hamlet called that at its northern end, which also gives its name to a railway station that served Twyford and Borough on the Hill. The line that once crossed it was the southern branch of the Great Northern and London and North Western Joint Railway, which ran from Melton Mowbray to Market Harborough. Along its length it required a tunnel at East Norton and a viaduct which could span some 230 yards over the valley at John o' Gaunt. With 14 arches rising to a height of around 60 feet, this impressive structure carried its line on a falling gradient to the north. Today you have to say it looks rather sorry for itself. The original red brick is badly spalled in places and has seen extensive patching with more durable blue brindles. From this distance it has an unusual mottled appearance. You can actually stand underneath it if you know where to go, but it's advised you don't. Well, you can just imagine it, can't you? Trains rumbling across this thing, breaking the peace of this serene part of Leicestershire. At the moment, the only noises I can hear are sheep and cattle. I've got sheep in that direction and cattle in that direction. They're all watching me, wondering what on earth I'm doing. If only they knew, eh? John o' Gaunt Station closed in 1957, but goods traffic continued to cross the viaduct until 1964. In 1985, the viaduct was given a Grade 2 listing, but that was withdrawn in 1999. South of the viaduct, the route of the line crossed Marefield Parish. Marefield never had a station, it was far too small to warrant one, but the hamlet did have its own railway bridge. And this is it. On the edge of Marefield, this bridge carried the line over the narrow lane into the hamlet. You can see this from Marefield itself if you know where to stand. Now, of course, there's no line crossing this bridge, so by rights it's classed as a derelict building, just like the viaduct up the valley. Trains would cross both heading south from John o' Gaunt, and then they'd be met with a massive junction, one which got its name from the place we're about to see. Marefield Junction was one of the largest of its kind in the country when it was in operation. It was triangular, formed by 3 railway lines, one for each side of the triangle. The lines ran westwards to Leicester, northwards to Nottingham and south to Market Harborough. All 3 have now been lifted, but the triangle can still be seen clearly on overhead maps. The history of the railway junction dates back to the golden age of rail transport, but despite its strategic importance, passengers never really got to see it in operation. Indeed, this geometrically satisfying marvel on the landscape could only ever be appreciated from the air. Trains ran through it without a second thought. One can only imagine what it would have been like around here when trains still crossed the area. You can just imagine the distant rumble of trains that once travelled on these tracks. Okay, so now we know a little bit more about the railways around here. Let's actually see the village which is close to them. And the village of Marefield can barely be called a village. It's more a hamlet than a village. There's no church there. That's usually the definition between a village and a hamlet. This thing will only take me about 5 minutes to walk from one end to the other. It's one of those that's really, really small. It's over there on the horizon. And from this distance, I would say, confidently, that you can probably see all of the village. That's just how small it is. Let's have a walk through it. Marefield is not a village, it's a hamlet, and a really small one at that. It's so small that one has to wonder quite how such a big junction on the railway came to be named after it. Marefield as we know it now wasn't anything like this in medieval times. In fact, it wasn't even where it is today. In tomorrow's episode, we'll see where it was back then. For the here and now, Marefield is a pleasant little place. It has a population of 20 people or thereabouts, all living within a clutch of houses along one main street. There are 3 farms here named Snow's Farm, Marefield Farm and Manor Farm. The latter has 2 of the hamlet's 3 Grade 2 listed buildings. One of them is the farmhouse itself, and the other is known as the Bakehouse, although its original purpose is a bit obscure. There are ideas that it might possibly have been a dovecote. Whatever the case, it's 18th century ironstone rubble. The only other listed structure in Marefield is within Marefield Farm, and it's called Bow Manor Farmhouse. Marefield was a township in Tilton Parish for centuries before becoming a separate modern civil parish in December 1866. It's never had its own parish council. In some records it's referred to as South Mardfield. The derivation of the name is the same though. It doesn't mean pond or mere like other mares we've met. Instead it refers to a marten, a type of mammal that looks like a weasel. They have bushy tails and large paws with partially retractable claws. Martens are slender, agile animals which often inhabit coniferous and deciduous forests across the northern hemisphere. Clearly, they liked it here in Leicestershire. Well, there you go, people. 7 shots. That's all that took from one end of Marefield to the other. And for the entirety of that little walk, I could see my car. That's just how small this place is. But we've walked through it from one end to the other. There's nothing much more to the place. It's one of those tiny specks on the landscape. Having said that, it might be a small place, but 2 famous people have connections to this very settlement. One of them is a definite, the other is a maybe. Let's talk about them both. Before we wrap this one up, we have to mention two men who are associated with Marefield. One was born here for sure, the other is believed to have been, but it's not certain. This is Robert Gray, but the music fans out there may know him as Robert Gotobed. Gray, born in Marefield in 1951, is the drummer for the rock band Wire. He's been in the music biz since 1973. His first band was an R&B group called The Snakes, where he was the singer. The group released one single called Teenage Head. After they folded, Gray began teaching himself to drum, and between 1976 and 1990, he was Wire's regular man behind the kit. Wire broke up in 1980, but they reformed in 1985. Gray left Wire in 1990 after the release of the album Manscape. Apparently, it was due to the band's increasing use of sequencers, computers and drum machines, something he felt uncomfortable with. He began to explore African drumming and devoted his time to organic agriculture, running a small farm in the Midlands. He would rejoin Wire in 2000, dropping his Robert Gotobed alias and using his birth name Robert Gray instead. He's recorded and toured with the band ever since. The other man who has a connection to Marefield is Thomas Hooker, one of the main founders of the US state of Connecticut. Records state that Hooker came from a place called Marefield, which could be Marefield or maybe Markfield in northwest Leicestershire. It's not 100% clear. He went to Dixie Grammar School at Market Bosworth, which suggests Markfield is more likely. The trouble is that Marefield's parish records from before 1610 have now been lost. Born in 1586, he was a prominent colonial leader and congregational minister who founded the Connecticut colony after dissenting with Puritan leaders in Massachusetts. Called today the Father of Connecticut, Hooker was a towering figure in the early development of colonial New England. He was one of the great preachers of his time, the first minister of Cambridge, Massachusetts, and one of the first settlers and founders of both the city of Hartford and the state of Connecticut. He's been cited by many as the inspiration for the fundamental orders of Connecticut, which were adopted by the colony in 1639. Some have described that as the world's first written democratic constitution, establishing a representative government. And folks, we are done with the parish of Marefield. 1 down and 4 more to go in Harborough this week. Now tomorrow, we'll get to see where Marefield used to be. We'll also see 2 other places, one which is smaller than Marefield, if that's even possible. Otherwise, we'll get a nice walk. See you there. Now, just before I go, remember, this video is part of a huge project to visit every civil parish in England. That's more than 10,000. These routes are pre-planned, and due to time constraints, I can't cover every detail or walk down every street. Please don't complain if this video missed something out. I pronounce names how I choose to. I am very aware that local dialect may vary, and I don't take kindly to criticism about this. You've been warned. It's impossible to know everything too. If this video was terrible, make your own. If you're a regular watcher of The Village Idiot, you're not the only one. If you've got a small business, why not use my videos to advertise it? Leave a comment below if you're interested. And finally, thanks for watching this episode, everybody. Give us a like and a subscribe if you've enjoyed this episode, and share it with your friends and relatives. It all helps to keep this mission going. Until next time, I've been Andy, also known as The Village Idiot, and I'm out.